So this presentation is all about low cost or no cost marketing. So it really is a presentation where I believe all of you today can take at least 3 tips away and implement them in your business today if you're not already. So I will caveat all this with the fact that this is not revolutionary sort of marketing. This is really about perhaps reminding you of some of the things that are available to you all that you may have either forgotten about or not thought about for a while. So I've put them into 3 main categories, and then I'm going to talk individually about each of those. So my tip number 1 is you already know them. So how much are you actually sort of utilizing the existing network that you currently have? So the first thing I would say is look at your current customers. Are you getting enough out of your current customers? When was the last time you actually touched base with them? Do you have a sort of a relationship with them where it's transactional and once you've dealt with them, you never speak to them again? Or would I suggest to you that you need to sort of keep in touch with them on a regular basis? And by this, I don't mean hound them with, constant emails and messages, but just keep them aware of what your business is doing. And perhaps by keeping you in the forefront of their mind, they will come back to you when they need your services again. So I'd say to you, do you have a CRM system? It stands for Customer Relationship Management System. It's a database, right? Do you keep a decent database of your customers? And if you've got one of those, then you can utilize the email marketing function, which is built into pretty much all of them, although there are bits of software out there like MailChimp, which do a fantastic job. The other way to keep in touch with your current or lapsed customers is by circulating a newsletter, something to sort of just update them on the activities and maybe some of the wins or maybe some of the testimonials of your current customers. Staff, a lot of people forget about the power of making sure that your staff are marketing megaphones for your business, right? They're probably your most expensive monthly outgoing, right? So make sure that they are fully trained on all of your products and services, so they actually know exactly what the company does. Make sure that they've got some sales tools. You'll be very surprised, or maybe you won't be surprised, that I deal with a lot of customers that they don't give the people out on the road the tools to be able to promote the other products and services that are available. So make sure that you provide those. They are low cost. And really what we're doing here is we're trying to encourage positive word of mouth. So when your staff are at their fireworks display or at the football on the weekend, and someone says to them, "What do you do for a living?" Are they going to have a positive conversation about you and what they do? Because the default, if you like, is to be negative. Oh, I work for this company. I'm not really that happy, because it's a much more sort of, it's more of an empathetic sort of conversation that you can have because you're moaning about your work because no one likes their work, right? But I would encourage you to try and make sure that your staff are fully informed so that they can have a really positive conversation about your company.
Right.
The other thing about you already know them is about being local. I mean, this is a local chamber of commerce, right? So think about your geographical neighbors. So maybe you have an office on an industrial estate. Have you gone around to the other units on the industrial estate and introduced yourself? Or you may be in a shared workspace. Have you gone round to the other offices and let everybody know that you're there and what kind of products and services you have? Because don't forget that it's not just about the people in the room, as it were, or the people on the estate. It's about who they know as well. Joining a local business network is also very important, as but if you're on a high street, have you actually walked up and down and introduced yourself to the other retailers? And lastly is friends and family. I think sometimes we can be quite sort of shy about telling friends and family about exactly what it is that you do, but these are the people that love you the most. So in a sort of a non-salesy way, just try and make sure that your friends and family really do know what it is that you do. Okay, so that I think brings me to the end of tip number 1 in terms of you already know them within your sphere. Tip number 2 on low cost, no cost marketing is about teaming up. So the first thing you can do is find yourself a buddy, all right? Think about the people that are your best referrers. So as an example, my best referrers are business coaches because they deal with a lot of businesses, but they're dealing with the nitty-gritty of businesses, and sometimes those clients need marketing function. So for me, I try and build as many relationships as I can with business coaches. Also, other people within your sphere. So I also have really good relationships with other marketing people. Don't be afraid of people within your own genre, because maybe jobs come in, maybe people are too busy, or they're too big or too small. So I would encourage you to sort of forge relationships there. Think about people that also deal with your target market. So they may not be your initial sort of go-to thought, but once you've identified your target market, and that's a whole nother presentation, I encourage you to try and focus in on them and the people that deal with them. Think about your suppliers, think about your customers. You know, can you form alliances there with them? Also think about professional services, so people who come into contact with a lot of businesses, like accountants, maybe having a conversation with your accountant about other customers of theirs that you can team up with. And the other thing is to think maybe about social media influencers. And I don't sort of mean this in terms of you paying lots of money for somebody who you know, sits in their bedroom recording videos all day about makeup tutorials, but there is a large market of micro influencers now on the internet, and they may just have a couple of thousand followers. But what people are finding is if it's a relevant niche, you can actually reach out really closely to your target market, and it seemed to be much more genuine. So don't sort of think, oh, influencers aren't for me. Micro influencers, I can't even say it, influencers may just be for you. So teaming up with them to do some presentations or tagging them in your social media may be a strategy. The next thing about teaming up is about being the expert. And I guess this is a little bit like what I'm doing today. Karen said, would I like to come along and share my knowledge? And that's what I'm doing. So I'm guesting, if you like, on this webinar to you today. Or you could guest on a podcast and talk about your specialism or your niche. You may be able to contribute to somebody's newsletter, or as an example, you know, with the football program, I think it was Peter, you know, does Peter need an article for his next football program? Maybe you could contribute. You also must ask for testimonials. Don't be afraid to ask for those. And then incentivize and encourage recommendations. So think about the sort of, you know, recommend a friend or whatever sort of appropriate for your particular product and service. Because if you've got a happy customer, then they're much more likely to want to share their sort of secret, if you like, with their contacts. And the other thing about teaming up and being the expert is don't think that TV or radio or the local paper is out of your reach, because all media these days are hungry for content. And if you've got a newsworthy story, then there's no reason why the local paper might not write your article. I've had a lot of success with local radio, especially breakfast radio. They always like to get a sort of a guest in there to discuss a product or service. And with TV, by you submitting to the producers of the TV stations that you are an expert in your field, you never know when you'll get that phone call to talk about the specific subject that's in the news. And the last one about teaming up is networking. I don't need really to sort of dwell too much on this for you today because you're already here doing it. But there's the traditional sort of in-person online, you know, we've got the formal networks like the Chamber, BNI, Women in Business, the Federation of Small Businesses, there are trade federations, but also don't discount the other non-official sort of network opportunities. So your club, your golf club, your sports club, your social club down the road, you know, the charity organizations like Round Table, the Lions, your local Masonic Lodge, the parish council, the PTA, all of these things are opportunities for you to get your name out there. Now, the last, I realize I missed a slide out there. Tip number 3 is shout about it. Okay. We're all, well, I say we're all, I'm not going to speak for us all, but most of us are quite sort of reserved when it comes to blowing our own trumpets, but I would suggest that you need to. So shout about it, be on social media, and I'm going to encourage you to have brand engagement, not just brand awareness. You'll hear a lot of marketers talk about, oh, it's brand awareness. For small businesses, I've got to say that brand awareness is absolutely useless to you. What you need to be doing is engaging with your audience. It's going to have far more pull and it's going to have a positive effect. Think about webinars, podcasts, YouTube, getting your messages out there. If you don't want to be in front of the camera, then I would suggest thinking about other ways that you can perhaps speak to Karen about doing some kind of animated video where perhaps there's some voiceover so that you don't have to be in front of the camera at all. And maybe offer a snippet of your service. So via your website, maybe offer a little free demo or a free consultation. Being the authority is another part of shouting about it. You know, you are going to be the expert in your niche. You know, Jessica at Radens is a family law specialist. That's your specialist. Get out there and talk about your specialism, and perhaps a guest on a podcast or a webinar like this, contribute to the newsletter, ask for testimonials, and do, you know, feature presentation slots like we're doing today and like Andrew is doing next week. And the last thing is to think about producing material to leave with people so that perhaps there's a little bit of dwell time or something after the event. So produce a leaflet. Or maybe, I say maybe, if you're going to produce a leaflet, there will always be a PDF opportunity to send it digitally. So make sure you don't miss out on that. Incentivize or encourage recommendations, I've already alluded to, but also think about merchandise opportunities. Mugs are fantastic. They have excellent dwell time. They hang around in people's offices and factories for days, weeks, and months, if not years. So think about merchandise, and then branded clothing. So it's very affordable, but again, not only does it give a professional look and feel when you go out and about, but also it's promoting your brand. Whew, well, I flew through that. Right, I know I've got a couple of minutes left. So a little recap for you if you've got your pen and paper. You already know them. They're your current customers, your staff, your friends, your family, and the local area. Team up, find a buddy, be an expert, join a network. And don't forget to shout about it on social media, be the authority, and produce some materials to promote that.